How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. It's a little warmer here
Yesterday,
than it is in DC.
during the broadcast, you said, hopefully I get the quote right. You said we ran out of talent during the playoffs. Obviously, some injuries had to do with that. But after you
Yeah.
made these transactions, where would you say your talent level is without obviously playing a game yet?
Well, it's you got to factor in that we lost a Hall of Fame player in the backcourt with Russell, but you gained a lot more flexibility at the wings in the backcourt with adding Pope and Aaron. Everybody can kind of bump both positions, bringing Neto back in the backcourt. At least you solidified that area. And then the wings we're really excited about because I think Pope can play 2 and 3. I think Kyle can play the 3 and the 4. And really excited about what Trez can do. He just goes out. He's an energy person that brings so much to the table. I think he can play multiple positions. And then we added with Corey. I think is going to be an excellent knockdown shooter for us. Somebody that we want to add. And then I was referring to when we ran out of town, like just losing Davis really hurt. We're getting Thomas Bryant back. Davis has been playing in some pre-European qualifiers, played against Belarus and Romania, is playing very well. He's back to what we expect him to be, and I'm excited for his future. Getting in September early and staying healthy, having a great camp will mean the world to us. And then, we obviously added Isaiah Todd for the future, but he's very convinced that he can help us, and I'm never going to say no. Let him go prove it for himself. But I think, Chris, to really reflect back on last season and what we needed moving forward, we needed more players that are ready to play now, and we didn't sacrifice the future. We didn't do anything other than try to replenish those positions. The defensive wings, I think we addressed, and I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, just to follow up on just kind of the defensive side of it, just from the veterans that you brought in, they all really spoke to me about, having some type of chip on their shoulder. There's something to prove, right? To even get veterans at that point, is that a positive for the program when you've got guys like Montrez who wants to prove? Kuzma even talked about improving his defense. KCP is a 3-and-D type guy.
Yeah.
Did you improve your team like on the defensive end, you think?
I believe we did. I think it starts with Spencer. He has 2 chips on both shoulders. Coming off an injury, he has a lot to prove. I think what he needs to do is he and Bradley both kind of take that first big step forward, the first day of training camp, and lead us through getting better defensively, because we both know we know both of them are excellent defenders, and all the other people that we added certainly are going to fall in line with that. But in Pope's case and with Kyle, they both have rings. They've been through a great deal, and they've seen what it takes to get to a championship level as role players, and they're stars in their roles, and we expect that to translate here tremendously. Trez was a 6th man of the year. He's a very gifted player, hell of an athlete, and somebody that really loves to play basketball. So I think all those guys will fit in perfectly. We think Aaron is a player that has tremendous potential, kind of untapped. That he was stuck in a logjam in Indiana. He's somebody we really valued since he worked out for us prior to his first season as a rookie, and one of the most competitive guys that we've been around in our drills that we do for pre-draft stuff. And I know what Aaron brings to that backcourt, him and Neto behind Spencer and Bradley. Certainly they'll be able to play together. They can play either position. So we were really looking for that versatility, Chris. The ability to bump up or bump down each position is huge for us.
Thanks, Tommy. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Brett. Hey, Tommy. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's a little warm here.
Quite warm. Would you say, it's kind of getting to the quieter part of free agency right now. Would you say that you're done with building the roster, at least between now and training camp, or are you still looking to make adjustments to it?
I think you always want to give every opportunity to make your roster better. And, we have Cassius Winston who's not able to play here. And that really, it stinks for him. Fortunately, he was able to play in the G League bubble, but his off-season development now, he's missed 2 summer leagues. But he's holding down a 2-way opportunity. We have another 2-way position that's open, so we got to look at that and see what is out there, because I really believe those positions are invaluable during the season. We're looking at Exhibit 10s for the go-go, so there's still a lot of work to be done. And then, always you keep making calls. You always want to know what other teams think of your players. You want to make sure that everybody's aware of what our strategies are for moving forward next season and see what theirs are. And if there's something that makes sense, we like to do things to make our team better no matter what time of year it is. But I would tell you that as of today, I feel really satisfied that we did a lot to make the Wizards deeper and better moving forward.
And what was it that you found from an on-court perspective that you liked about bringing in Spencer Dinwiddie as a fit next to Bradley Beal and just as a guy to run your offense?
I think the last time Spencer was out on the NBA floor and was able to play at a high clip, a healthy level, he was over 20 and 6, almost 7 assists a night. So he's a capable scorer. So that takes some pressure off of Bradley. He's a very gifted passer, and I think he is a very physical defender. And I think they'll play very well together. Really, we get a little bit too focused on who starts games. I always look and see who ends games and how we can end games. You can put so many shooters out on the court. You can put creators out on the floor. I see Bradley having the ball in his hands a great deal of the time at the end of games, obviously, and people that can play off of him and drive and kick and open up passing lanes for each other. I think that's going to be critical. And now we have a little bit more versatility, a lot more talent to do those things.
Chase? Hey, Tommy. Last year when you guys signed Raul Neto, you pointed out his adjusted plus minus, and it looks like Aaron Holiday kind of shows up similarly. Do you think that do you see any similarities between the two? And was that a reason why you targeted him?
We targeted Aaron a couple of times, previous trade deadlines, tried to acquire him, and it just, sometimes things just don't work out. But usually trade deadline calls, the trades that don't work out kind of somehow resurface in the summer. And maybe it takes a year, it takes 2 years, but we've always loved Aaron. And he's known that going back to when he worked his draft workout for us. And I think he always saw this to be a great place for him and vice versa. And yes, his defensive metrics were awesome, but his grit that he displayed in our workouts, I know I keep kind of coming back to one moment in time, but it's something we saw throughout his college career, something he displayed when he was in our building, something we've seen when he's had opportunities to play. It's just finding that right niche, and Raul, same deal. I watched Raul play with the Brazilian national team. I traveled with their national team to the Worlds when they were in Spain, and I saw it in Raul and when he was a young man playing in international games. And those things just kind of replay themselves. If given an opportunity, I think he can do the same things with us. So, yes, his defensive numbers definitely had twitch to us, but so do the other things that we've noticed over the years with him. And really excited. I think he's grateful for a fresh start.
And Dinwiddie, you mentioned his injury, Thomas Bryant as well. What's the latest on those guys? Do you expect to have them operate normally through training camp?
Well, certainly with Spencer, but we're going to take our time with both guys and make sure it's not about a date on the calendar. It's when they're 100% healthy. I think Spencer is further ahead than Thomas, but I think with Thomas, we're going to make sure 100% that he's healthy. Training camp is difficult to miss, but it's critical if you're not available to go through it. Then certainly we got to maximize the time, his rehab time and everything. I don't have a calendar in front of me. I know they're both progressing as they should. Spencer was out here working out, looked great. He's going to progress to 2-on-2, 3-on-3, and we'll measure it as we go through September. Thomas is running. He's out on the court doing what he's supposed to do. So our measurables right now, they're on track to be available. I can't see Thomas necessarily being in our first game, and we'll measure it as we go along. But I'm really pleased with their progress. And I can't say enough about our medical staff and their help tracking these guys and making sure, especially with Spencer getting integrated right away. We had a great conversation, a great kickoff to the way we're going to attack his rehab as we get to the season. And our medical staff they're fantastic. And it's going to be pretty seamless integration, I believe, to get him going.
Kareem?
Hey, Tommy. Appreciate you taking the time. I want to ask quickly about Kyle. he's had so many kind of roles so far already in his short career, where, at one point he seemed like the immovable guy out there in LA. And, I think he was scoring 18 points a game his second year, and then kind of fell into more of a role when they kind of won that title. What do you kind of envision of him? Does he kind of seem more of a guy who will be in more for that role, or do you see him ultimately kind of getting back to being a little bit more of that big time scorer that he kind of showed earlier in his career?
We certainly think he's capable of that. That was an astute observation. His role did change when they got LeBron, and as it probably should. And then with AD behind him, so he recognizes that he had to take a step back. But I think he's extremely confident in his ability to impact us, and he's really excited just to get a chance to play next to Bradley Beal, with Spencer, with his teammates that he's familiar with. And everybody keeps pointing out the new guys they really point out about Rui, and I think they are aware that Davies can shoot from anywhere. And I think everyone's kind of curious about Denny. The Denny factor is something that I think is going to be exciting to those players they get around him. And now that he's healthy and what he's up to, I think they're going to see we got a lot of versatile guys. We have some length out there. We're really going to have to pay attention on the defensive end, but I think we've increased our IQ at that end for sure. And the attention to detail that Wes and his staff bring to that defensive end is going to be immediate impact, I believe. But stuff doesn't happen overnight. I think what we got to build on, particularly as these guys get together, is just that familiarity. So September is so important to us. We'll have some open runs and get guys to figure out what a good lineup looks like. Shooters, they like the ball in certain places. I think that's something Spencer's really dialed in on. He wants to know where guys like the ball and setting guys up. But I think he and Bradley, they look at the game pretty similarly. And I think they both want to be efficient scorers. They both want to make sure that they play off each other very well. And I think everybody acknowledges that if we get our defensive commitment in, we got a really good deep team.
And just a quick follow up on that, you've mentioned the wings a couple times. Depth and versatility on the wing is definitely a good problem to have. But do you also kind of look at it where, some with Rui and Denny, those guys are young and still kind of need, as much floor action as possible. Do you think of that balance, or how that balance can shake out with, some of the veterans that you brought in, but still giving those young guys room to grow?
Oh, certainly. I mean, I don't see Rui's role changing. He's started since his rookie year. I think Denny, it gives him a little bit more confidence. I believe if he comes off the bench, that second unit, he can be a secondary playmaker and do a lot more things that maybe he wasn't able to do with that starting lineup last year. And no roles are nailed down. Certainly, if he earns more minutes, he'll earn more minutes. But I think we really want to start off the season. It just seemed for about the last 5 years, we always start out the season in kind of in a hole. If it was injury or we just couldn't finish out games or whatever, you want to get off to a great start and you want to get the confidence rolling. And that's for every player on this roster, not just Denny, not just Rui. And I think those guys will be able to certainly be big contributors to our roster next season. Rui has for 2 years and Denny was on his way. That injury really kind of stunk. But I'm excited for all those guys. And I think it's really important to see the versatility. That's going to be a key strength of this team, where last year I don't think we had that. I think the depth, we didn't have that last year. Now we have that. We're going to miss Russell. There's no question. He made a huge impact on this franchise. But I'm really excited where we are moving forward. And I can't say that enough. And I haven't had a chance to really address, what we did on draft night, what we did in free agency and stuff. But I cannot possibly thank our front office staff, what we went through in free agency, draft night and stuff, just the effort and the stick-to-itiveness and the ability to really put some difficult things together, from Brett Greenberg and Ben Eidelberg and Sam Kaplan, but Antoine Jameson, Johnny Rogers, Frank Ross, our family, we were sequestered in LA getting through free agency, and just we all came together and make sure that thing got through. And I can't thank them enough. I'm blessed with a tremendous support staff.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Matt?
Hey, Tommy. You mentioned the flexibility that the Westbrook trade provides. Obviously, that is on the floor too with kind of the defense, but just kind of long term, you've gone from John to Russell to now kind of these contracts. How does this move kind of help you build longer term to make if you want to be flexible or push chips in, like how do you think that does it free you up at all or anything like that?
Certainly, you always keep an eye on the future, and you know where your cap is moving forward, and having a lot of better contracts gives you a lot more flexibility. But I'd like to see these players play for us. I'd like to see these guys come together and matriculate as a roster. I think chemistry is something that's so important, and we showed last year that group was able to come together the second half of the season, and what they were able to do at the end gives you hope that, hey, you can get groups, new players together, and they can still come together and do good things. You know, bringing Daniel Gafford in at deadline, you know, his impact was tremendous in the 23 games he was able to play. So I'm not afraid to bring new players in and think that, okay, now we're going to have to take 4 years for these guys to get together. Not at all. I think we're looking for seamless integration. We know there'll be some turbulence. We know there'll be bumps sometimes, but overall, I just like the direction of having those, you know, instead of having so much invested in one or two contracts, being able to spread the wealth a little bit gives us a lot more optionality, and it gives us a lot more versatility. And I really like the years of service. You know, I think our roster actually got younger, but we have a lot more players with a lot more games, a lot more playoff games. You know, I think having guys who won championships is very meaningful as well. And I'm excited about that.
And I'm curious, just what did you make of kind of the movement in the East? You know, you had a lot of other teams try and upgrade their rosters. Obviously, that's always the case, but how do you kind of see, like, yourself? Like, did you guys raise a tier within the East? Like, how do you kind of evaluate the landscape of everything that's happened kind of around the league?
We'll let the future decide that. I don't, you know, you look around, you notice what everybody else has done. Certainly, we watch the league very carefully, but I'm more concerned about the Wizards and what we're doing, you know. And I think it's been in less than 60 days. We pivoted from a coaching staff. We went through 18 interviews, actually about 26 interviews. We named a new coach. We went through the draft combine. We went through the draft. We went through free agency. You know, that's a lot of stuff. And we added whatever it is, 8 new players. That's a lot in 60 days. So we're more focused on what the Wizards are doing and how we're going to come the rest of the summer, coming into not free agency anymore, but coming into the season. That's our focus. Everybody in the summer, I don't think anybody says, man, we really did some stupid stuff. Like, everybody feels good in the summer. You find out in the winter what you did in the summer.
Neil? Hey, Tommy. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm sorry if there's some noise in the background. You guys can hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you. On the broadcast yesterday, you had talked about, you know, wanting the roster to be more balanced. I'm curious what that means to you, if you can elaborate on that. Do you feel like there's still another move to be made to try and free up, you know, you guys have a lot of bigs on the roster, or how do you see that playing out?
Like I said earlier on this call, I just think we look for opportunities to get better. We focus on who's here right now, and that's where that's our baseline. But until you get to the season, I think you owe it to the Wizards franchise to do the very best you can. If there's other opportunities, we look at it. But I can really be excited about this roster now. We have a good balance of vets and youth and opportunities for guys to get out and play. I'm really excited about the potential of Corey Kispert, what he's brought in summer league is difficult. You know, I'm not making light of it, but if anybody knows the movie Spinal Tap, like, our point guard position in summer league has been like the drummer from Spinal Tap. They just keep disappearing. We've gone through 4 of them. They never got a chance to play. So we're having like open tryouts, and it's hard for a shooter. You don't have a really proven point guard. And we just couldn't get him out on the floor. So, but what I've seen from Corey is he takes great shots. He knows how to get open, but he'll dive on the ball on the floor. He's able to create for himself, but he's a pretty tough defender. He knows how to play basketball. And then with Isaiah, you know, he got sprung yesterday about 10:30, hadn't touched the ball in a week plus, but you got to think about it, his last organized basketball game was in the G League bubble. So yesterday, you know, I don't know if you could hear it on TV. You could sure hear him breathing heavy, and he got heavy legs, but he was able to get through it. And I think his potential for down the road is going to be excellent. But, you know, I'm excited where we're at. But if we can get better, we continue to do that.
And if you have an update on Denny, I know you guys, you know, held him out of summer league. but he's fully cleared. Has he done any contact 1-on-1, 2-on-2, or where is he currently?
Yeah, we held him. He was going to come out to this is probably more than you need to know. He was going to be out here. We had some bets come through. Spencer was through here. Kyle was through here. Gaff's out here still. Bradley, we had some guys that were in and out, but we kind of, after everything started popping back up out here with COVID and contact tracing and stuff, we kind of cautioned guys not to come around. So Denny was in that. He was on his way here and he stayed in DC. So he's working out. He has taken contact on now, and he's cleared to play. So we're anxious to get back and put some 2-on-2 stuff together for him and get ready for, like, after Labor Day. We will be full gym. We'll have everybody in town and get ready to roll, and that's Denny time. He's better be ready to strap it on because these guys are going to come at him, and I think he's excited for that opportunity.
Thanks, Tommy. Appreciate it.
Hey, Tommy. You just touched on the 60 days that you guys have had. That's been really busy of really kind of going to work for this franchise. I'm wondering, from your perspective and maybe even Bradley Beal's perspective, what is it like to kind of think at one point you're moving forward with Russell Westbrook and planning for that, and then all of a sudden having to reconfigure your team and doing it in the way you guys have done it and moving in this direction?
I can't speak for Bradley. We speak openly about the direction of the Wizards, and it's important to me to get his insight. But we always got to do what's best for the Wizards, and that was a very, very unusual circumstance where the day before the draft, just kind of some spitballing some ideas and getting some input. Had a heart-to-heart with Russell, and something, it was important to him that I knew and that the Wizards knew he wants to play here. If there's ever an opportunity with the Lakers, that would be the one place. And I look at his Hall of Fame career and all he did for us, and certainly, for me, I'll try to help a guy as long as it helps the Wizards. And in this case, we could do a deal, and it did help the Wizards. If that deal didn't go through, Russell would still be playing for us, and we'd all be happy. That opportunity presented itself. It was a great deal for both sides, and I think it made a lot of sense for both of us. And I wish him the very best. He's so amazing. But for us, we were really excited about what we received in that deal, and it was, a couple of days there, it was like passing a kidney stone, but we finally got it done. And I think it, very, very beneficial for both sides.
Thanks, Tommy.
Notorious Ohm.
Chase.
Tommy, I guess on a related note, how do you hope that all these moves that you've made will position you for contract talks with Bradley Beal later this year?
I don't. Hope doesn't enter the equation. It's all part of the cadence that we continue to do. I really can't talk about Bradley any more than we've already talked about, and all agree that I'm going to be there the first day we can do the extension. So if you want to replay the past 20 interviews and you've asked these questions, I'll probably give you the same answer, Chase. We were just trying to get the Wizards better, and that's been our commitment all the time. So hopefully that, if I didn't remember from the last 20 times you asked, that's still my answer, buddy. We look forward to that.
Might have been the first time I've asked, but another Beal question. You have long been tied to international basketball and Team USA. Just what was your reaction to, obviously, the unfortunate timing of him having to leave before the Olympics?
I'm sorry if my accounting was off on that, Chase. I'm not trying to blow you up. Anyway, I was devastated for Bradley, how much that opportunity meant to him. The one great thing about this being 2021, he will be on the 2024 team, and he deserves it more than anybody. He embodied the Olympic spirit. That team was devastated when he was not able to go forward with them. I talked to players. I stayed in Vegas and had an opportunity to sit with Coach Pop and all the coaches, all the players that were around. And it was almost like a funeral atmosphere because he meant so much to that team. But I think, certainly the fact that they were able to get the gold, he heard from everybody from the locker room in Tokyo. And players were calling him, coaches were texting to him saying how much they wish he was there to celebrate that and how much he meant to the team. So, you grieve and you move on. It was just basketball, and he'll get an opportunity to be on that 2024 team. But that was a fun Olympics to watch.
Take the last question from Chris Miller.
Tommy, earlier you gave a lot of credit to your front office staff on pulling off a deal like this, but I can't wait for the book to be released. You have to tell me, how in the world did you get 4 other teams to cooperate and collaborate on a deal like this?
Everybody has to get something out of it that makes them better. And in this case, everybody did. It was a great situation, very rare. I think it's the second 5-way trade in the league history. But if you continue to do good for each other and somebody is getting something out of it, I think you'll see this more often. It was creative, and we certainly went the extra mile on it, but that's because it was worth doing. We didn't do it to get notoriety out of it or anything. We just did it because it's the best thing for the Wizards. And it's the best thing for the Pacers, for the Spurs, etc.
I guess I'll wait for the book to come out. Yeah, I guess I'll wait for the book to come out. I can't wait. It might be a pretty funny book to read in some regards, just because time, the time is now. We're away from it. It doesn't seem like it was that long, but free agency. It seems like free agency was over after, when it started at 3:00, it was over by about 3:30 or 4. It felt like, and so I was getting some heat from people asking like, what's taking so long? And I was like, man, if you only knew what we were working on, it takes a little bit longer, but it was worth it. I'm happy, and no lives were harmed in this deal, so we're happy about that. We just keep moving. So the phone bill, will you ever text me and just let me know how much the phone bill costs to get all these?
I promise you what, man. I wish we did have some transcripts. We had some really funny conversations in there. A lot of come on now, let's do this the right way kind of conversation. But everybody, like I said, everybody got something out of it that was good for them. So those are the best deals.
Thanks, Tommy.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a great weekend, and we'll be in touch soon.
Hey, Chase, I'm sorry I wasn't trying to pick on you, man. I'm just saying I've heard the same question. I'll go say the same answer. Bradley, we're excited to have him and his input, and I'm excited for when we get a chance to sit in front of him in October. So everybody have a great weekend.